Welcome in, y'all. We are predicting every single game for every single team, and today we have the Seattle Seahawks, the defending Super Bowl champions. They won Super Bowl 60 over the New England Patriots in February, and they're looking to run it back. Their title defense starts in September with a rematch against those same New England Patriots. There's a lot of talk about Super Bowl hangovers, and I was curious myself. I was looking into it, how much stock should we put into that? And I found that for teams not led by Brady and Mahomes, right? So those dynasties that have kind of covered a lot of the last couple of decades, but for the seven Super Bowl winners, the last seven Super Bowl winners that weren't them, all seven teams saw a worse record the following season, which I think is very interesting. I think there's several reasons for that. Super Bowl hangover is real just as far as mentality. But it's also, there's now a target on your back. Teams, they're lining up to play against you. It's not just another game, it's their game against the champions. So a lot of pressure. But sometimes teams can, break through with that pressure. Seattle's looking to get back there again this year. But let's start with the game picks. Week 1 against New England. I think the Patriots did improve this offseason, and while Seattle maybe lost a couple pieces, I mean, they're trying out a pretty similar lineup. I don't think enough was done for me, at least right now, to overturn that result, especially with this game being played in Seattle. So I'm going to give the Seahawks the Week 1 opening night dub on that Wednesday night kickoff. Week 2, Seattle goes to Arizona. Arizona should struggle mightily this year. I have the Seahawks starting 2-0. And then week 3 at Washington, a team that Seattle really dominated last season. You always have to be careful here. You have a cross-country early game. Maybe it catches you off guard, but I'm not too concerned here. I think Seattle starts their title defense 3-0. Week 4, they host the Los Angeles Chargers, a Chargers team that is trying to make a name for themselves as a contender. They are, at least odds-wise, one of the AFC major contenders this year, especially if they can stay healthy. And I actually have them coming into Seattle and handing the champs their first loss of the season. Seattle falls to 3-1. Week 5, San Francisco in week 1 last year did come into Seattle and get a win. They were far healthier then than they were in that playoff beatdown. But I don't think that happens again here. I think Seattle is able to get the job done at home and move to 4-1 on the season. Week 6, they have a short week heading into Denver in a game that very well could have been the Super Bowl if it were not for Bo Nix's ankle. But this is a Thursday night football game here. The battle of the defenses, it's going to be close. It's going to be tight. Ultimately, I have Denver coming out on top in this one. I think Denver did improve in this offseason and getting the game at home on a short week. A lot of factors there. I like the Broncos to win it. Seattle falls to 4-2. Week 7, back-to-back tough weeks here. Actually, I'd say this is 4 straight tough weeks in 5 if you look ahead to week 8. But week 7, a second straight primetime game. This one a Sunday night versus Kansas City, a Chiefs team that, in the midst of their dynasty had a quite a down year last year. I think that's an understatement. Can they rebound? It's hard to say right now. You expect them to certainly do better than last season, but they were showing a lot of struggles. I think Seattle is able to get the job done at home just with their elite defense and Kansas City's offensive struggles. Week 8, a game that was almost the NFC Championship last year. Chicago, if Williams avoided that interception in overtime. But alas, we get it here on Monday Night Football. Should be a good one. I'd like to see Caleb Williams going against a tough defense like the Seattle one. But I find it tough to predict an upset here. I like Seattle at home. I think they have a better overall team than Chicago. Week 9, home against Arizona, should have no trouble there. Move to 7-2. And then week 10, maybe you could argue there's some look ahead here. They have an easy game followed by the bye week. Players get ahead of themselves, but I think they're far enough ahead of Vegas at the moment. They move to 8-2 on the year, heading into their bye week. Week 12, they head to San Francisco. And, this is a very good Niners team when healthy. I think that's gotten forgotten for some people. I can't guarantee they're going to be healthy, but I'm not going to sit here and start predicting injuries. You know, San Francisco beat Seattle in Seattle last year. The game came down to the wire in San Francisco. It's going to be a good game. Both of their games should be good this year. I know the playoff game was horrible, but San Fran at that point was kind of a mess. I'm going to take the 49ers at home here to get the win, and Seattle drops to 8-3 on the year. Week 13, a home Monday night football game against the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys, that elite offense and the hopefully much improved defense looking to take down the champs. I think this will be a really fun game, but I do think Seattle ultimately comes out on top. But that's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that. Week 14, I made a video recently talking about potential trap games for some of the top teams, and this was one I had for Seattle. Just because you're in the middle of a stretch of games where you're playing San Francisco, Dallas, Philly, LA, and there's riddled with short weeks in there. Between week 13 and 14, between week 14 and 15, and between 15 and 16, I believe it's short rest for Seattle each of those weeks, which is insane. I think it's only by one day each week, but that does add up. That being said, just because I think this game is on potential trap game watch doesn't mean I am outright predicting an upset. I do like Seattle there, but I think the Giants can be a scrappy team this year and get some big wins. They had some last year. They beat Philly, big upset, almost beat Denver. They beat the Chargers. Could be a good year for them. Week 15, Seattle goes to Philadelphia. Philadelphia, what are we going to get from them? Sometimes they look unbeatable. And, they've been to 2 Super Bowls recently, but then sometimes it feels like they're crumbling from within, locker room problems, drama going on, and the on-field play, declines. I don't know what to expect from them, but they're a very, very good team. This is a good Eagles team. Late in the season, they're going to need this game. It's a Saturday game, and I'm going to give the win to Philadelphia, and Seattle falls to 10-4. Week 16. A Christmas night game, very anticipated game, NFC Championship rematch. And, this is one I think the Rams really addressed the weakness that cost them that title game to Seattle. The cornerback play was a big factor, couldn't contain JSN, and you add 2 better cornerbacks than they had on their roster all of last year, and Myles Garrett. I think it's just going to be tough for Seattle in this one. I am going to take the Rams to get the win. Week 17, Seattle, I don't think they have any issues with Carolina. I'm a little low on the Panthers this year, despite winning their division last season. And then week 18s are always tough because who's playing for something, who's healthy, who's sitting out, we don't know. We got to predict it as if everyone's playing for something. I'm going to take the Rams in this one, 2 wins in 3 weeks. That'd be brutal for Seattle, but, I do think a small regression is possible for the Seahawks. The schedule's a lot tougher. We'll see. We're gonna see. It's gonna be tough this year. It's gonna be a gauntlet, a lot of tough games, but I think they get a lot of these tough ones at home, which is good, right? You get the Chargers at home, you get the Chiefs at home, you get the Bears at home, you get the Cowboys at home. Tough games on the road as well, but it's nice. You get the Patriots at home as well. Missed that one. Nice to get a lot of those in Seattle with the 12th man, so maybe that helps them out. But we'll see how this season goes. 11-6, that should surely be good enough for the playoffs, and potentially, could compete for the NFC West title. It's gonna come down to the Rams and Niners. All 3 teams have tough schedules, so their records might not be as good as the teams could be, but we'll see. We'll get to those teams. We're going through all 32 teams, making our way through, and we'll eventually get to them as well. And then right before the season starts, we'll have our final standings and playoff predictions. But let me know what y'all think, and we'll keep doing these.